Hello and welcome to my first tutorial. This is Fruit Maker Animation. My name is Roland, and today we are going to make these pipes with water running through. We will not focus on the modeling of the pipes. We will focus on the Flip Fluids add-on, on the settings there, and how to solve problems which may possibly come up. So have fun and enjoy. Okay, hey folks, welcome to my first tutorial ever. So first, for making the water through the pipes, we select everything by pressing A, then deleting it by pressing X and delete. And then we are going to add a cylinder, and for the cylinder we increasing the vertices up to 64. Gives us a nice and smooth cylinder, and now we grab it on the Z axis and bring it up. So hit G, Z, and just bring it up. So we want to rotate it now, so press R and then rotate it on the X axis by 90 degrees. Then enter the edit mode by hitting Tab, and then we are going to select all the vertices on the right side and therefore enable the X-ray view. Grab these vertices and then you can disable the X-ray view again. Now we are going to extrude, so hit E and extrude on the Y-axis just as far as you want, and just with the selection that we've got, select the curve tool, and then let's make a curve, and it gives us really a nice curve already. So you could do this manually by extruding and rotating, or you can use this what you see on the left, this nice curve tool, as is really helpful when you are modeling pipes. So this is what where you can spend really a lot of time. So you can do a lot of things here and make really complex structures just like you wanted. I don't focus here on the modeling. This is only just a quick and rough modeling stuff. Just keep in mind that you can adjust everything down here. Most important are the angle and of course the center values, where you can adjust the curve just like the way you want it to be. So normally the 3D cursor is the center of the curve, so in order to get really nice ones like you like it, just place the 3D cursor where you need it or where you think it should look good, but always remember you can always adjust later on. So just do some extrusion, some more curves, and give these pipes a shape that you really like. And if you have more of these curves, of course it's more nice to see the water rushing through. So let's do that quickly and roughly, and so that we can focus on the flip fluid settings that we will use right away. Okay, once we are done, we'll leave the edit mode and go back to object mode, and let's give it a right click and shade smooth, and then we add a modifier and pick the solidify modifier to give our small tube here some thickness by 0.150.15 is a good thickness. You can see it here. It's the inner tube will be the tube where the water is rushing through. You see it here. The thickness is really nice and okay for me. You can even increase it a little bit. The thicker you make it, the more water will stay in. So normally you have some issues with water dropping out of meshes where you don't want it to drop out. But with the thickness here, you can simply adjust. But we are taking here a rather small thickness because there's another way to be sure that the water will stay within the pipe. So apply the modifier like I did here. And then we will, like you see here, we insert icosphere. You can choose everything else. This will be our water emitter, and we place it in the tube and scale it adequately. So I don't want it to intersect with the tube itself, so I place it just inside the inner tube. It's quite easy. Just pick it, grab it, put it there, and scale it adequately. Okay, once we are done with that, let's go back to solid view mode. Yeah, it looks really nice, and I think the water will run through quite well. Now that we are done with that, we need to insert a cube, which will be our domain object. Just like in every fluid simulation, same as in MantaFlow, you need a domain object, and here we take a small cube. You can either go into the edit mode and grab all the faces and pull them where you need them, or just scale it globally and adjust like you need it. So for the x-axis, scale it up a little bit and keep the domain as close as possible. Don't make it too big because it will increase your baking time quite a lot. So here you see enable flip fluid, and for the cube we take domain, and then you see it's going to be displayed in wireframe mode. And for the cylinder we go flip fluid as well and make it an obstacle. And very important is that you here activate the inverse check. And if you want to have an animated obstacle which moves, then you have to choose the third option as well, but we don't have to do it here. For the icosphere we choose the inflow, and as we want the water to spread out in the direction we want it, so we want it here to go to the right, so which means we have to increase the inflow velocity on the y-axis. So just here go for 3 to 4 is quite good. We will now change a lot of settings, and we will not leave them what we do now until the end, just to show you what is going on here. Yeah, so just set the inflow object and then choose again the domain. So what is most important here is the resolution, which is now set to 65, which is very, very low. And here you see Untitled Flip Fluid cache under the cache, and this is because we have not saved it yet. So just pick somewhere a folder on your hard drive and yeah, save all that what we've done so far. Press save, and then you see the cache directory is already updated here. The bake files can get really, really large, so ensure that you have enough free space on your hard drive. Okay, so we are done here. Next we go here for the surface, and here you see the subdivisions is on 0. We don't have to touch that at the moment because it will be updated later on when we enable another option. And this is here, enable the white water, and just click the checkbox on the top. Here you can check which particles you want. You can even add dust to it. We don't need it for this simulation, but it's nice for some other stuff. And yeah, down here you see the obstacle settings. You see here the influence on the cylinder, which is our pipe system, should be at 1. So it means no water should pass through it, not drop through the surrounding. And what is now really important is here in the flip fluid world, the scale. So you see the dimension, and if we leave it here on 1, the fluid inside the tube will look like an ocean, which is quite unrealistic. And you don't have to scale it down to realistic values, but for small pipes, or if you think of normal pipes, a value between 0.3 and 0.5 normally looks quite well. So just choose something below 1, probably between 0.3 and 0.5. Enable the surface tension, which will make your mesh more smooth and less holes in the mesh during the emission of the water. Yeah, then we need to apply the material, and here we can choose one of these presets, which are quite good. So here's a lot of stuff, and I know what you all think and you all want is a pipeline full of beer. Everyone dreams of it, but to be honest, you only get what you see below, the liquid, and you don't get the foam of the beer. You see here the white one. This is something which is not emitted. It's just on the picture, but you won't see that in any render here. So even if you pick beer, the color of the beer is really nice, but no foam on it. Here we take ocean as a preset and check the auto assign preset. So the material is already set up now, but you can even change it here in the flip fluid materials. You see there is no dust because we didn't check it on the top, and we don't want it for this. and here you can change the color or the material of the surface, or you can even make own material just like you want. So normally here is good to go with the ocean setting or anything like that, or the clear water, whatever you personally like. That's the important issue. You should like it, not everyone else. Okay, so more or less we are done here now, and come back here and you see the subdivisions is now set to 1. You could even increase it, but it's not really necessary. The particle scale, if the bubbles are too big for what you like, then you could decrease the particle scale here. And you see the resolution is now set automatically to 300. Let's set it back to 65. And because we are first doing a small test bake, and I always recommend you to do small test bakes in the beginning if everything is set up correctly, and of course it will not work correctly like you wanted, but for a first check it's quite good. Quite important here is the flip fluid debug, and here you see if you activate it you get that grid, and here you see the revolution of 65, so it means we get a grid with a resolution of 65, which is quite low. You see all these little squares here, these red squares, and if you increase it, the resolution here, you will get much smaller of these squares, and which is very, very important here if you go there, because on this topography the simulation will check whether the fluid will stay into your pipe or inside your pipe, or if it will simply drop through, what you really want to avoid. So in case you have the issues with water dropping out somewhere where you don't want it, just increase the resolution, but be careful. High resolution means much more baking time. So you see here, like if you go down to 65, very easy, but when the water is really fast pushing through our pipe system, it will for sure drop out in the edges or in the curves, and this is something you can avoid by simply increasing it. The display grid can really be helpful there, and let's disable it for now to have a better view. And here you can, on the pipe itself, you don't have to change too much, but you can enter some really small number in the expand geometry, which will make the pipe more dense concerning the fluid, so that the fluid will stay in. And you don't see it; it's only virtually, but it really helps you to keep the fluid inside the pipe and not to drop out in the curves or any edges or whatever you have. Okay, let's do a small first test bake, and as you can see with the low resolution, it's really going fast. If you increase the resolution to like 500, it will take like 6 or 8 hours depending on your machine. And here you see, if you move the cursor on the timeline, you see the water is already rushing through, but you already see the first problems that we've got, that the water is not really staying everywhere in where we like it to stay in. Okay, but you see, in general, it's working. But we will face some more problems later on, and this is why we have to change some of these settings again and again and again. Okay, let's delete the bake. Okay, let's delete the bake, and before we bake again, let's select the pipe system and add another 0 in front of the 5, so it makes 3 zeros and then the 5 behind the dot. And it's quite small, but it's really helpful already. And here I don't like the inflow velocity. It's a little too high for me, so let's decrease it from 4 to 3. But you can change it to any number you like. Okay, before we do another test bake or another bake, let's change the resolution again and enter like 400. No. Let's keep it low and let's go with 200. 200 for the resolution, and then just bake again. And now you see something very interesting happening, because the timeline below is moving and updating, but you don't see any water emitted from our icosphere. So we haven't changed the settings, and there should be water, but there is no water. So now let's figure out why it is. Okay, let's stop the bake, and let's have a look on the settings. Delete the bake, and I will show you now how to fix this issue. So, but now where has the water gone? Why is it not visible anymore? Let's change the resolution back to 100, and then you see, with the updating frames in the timeline, our water has come back. So it has to do something with the resolution, but we need a high resolution in order to achieve a really good looking simulation later on. So even if I increase the resolution, like you can see here, to 450 and then bake it, and still no water. So it has definitely to do something with the resolution. Okay, let's delete the bake again and let's see how to solve the problem. Select your pipes and uncheck the inverse, which is normally absolutely required to keep the fluid inside the obstacle. Just uncheck it, and with a high resolution of 450, let's do another bake. And it's unbelievable, but you can see it here. It's again emitting our liquid, which is good. This is for sure a bug, and I will report it to the guys from Free Fluids. Hopefully they will solve this issue, because I don't think it's going right this way, but it's working, and you can do the simulation you want with it. You see some of these very black particles popping out of the pipe. But you don't have to worry about that, because you won't see these in renders. You only see them when they're inside the fluid. Okay, we finished our bake with a resolution of 450, and you see a lot of water coming out on places where we don't want it to come out. And so this means the fluid velocity is too high for the resolution that we took. And let's for the pipe system, let's just easily set up a material and make it in glass. And for the background, that we have some lighting, and we can see in the render view what's going on. Just change any kind of HDRI. I normally take some HDRI from HDRI Haven, and just put something that you like in there and open. And then if you change to render view, you will already see what is going on. And yeah, here we see we have our pipe system, and we have a lot of liquid coming out on places where we definitely need to stop it. Okay, so let's go back to our solid view, delete the bake, and now we're going to increase the grid resolution up to 600, and everything else, we leave it just like it is. You can play here a little bit of the speed and bring it up to 1.2, which make the fluid going much faster through our pipe system, but normally I want to keep it on 1, so we will solve that back to 1 later on, and I show you how to get faster water and more water in. And now let's bake again. Okay, the bake is still going on, but you can already see the water stays in. Only the particles we don't take care about are dropping out. So this should be good. And now let's adjust some other settings, and yeah, before we go to our final bake, and after the final bake to our final render. Okay, I told you I want more water in the pipe, so I delete the bake. And I don't want to upscale the icosphere, which is our emitter, and which would give us much more water, but it's quite easy, just duplicate it. Meanwhile, I put the inflow velocity back to 4, I duplicate them twice, so I have 3 emitter right now, and yeah, that's more or less what we had to do here, and then go for a bake. Okay, when our bake is done, let's pick a camera and set it up. So I just, normally I insert the camera, grab it a little on the Z-axis, a little on the X-axis in this case here. Then go to camera view, go to view on the sidebar and lock camera to view. And then you just have to pick an angle that you like for your final render. So this is normally where it takes a little bit of, yeah, of experimenting to get the right angle. The focal length I normally like to take quite high and move the camera far away. This gives normally a nicer shot of the liquid and the simulation. It's not only for liquid simulations, it's more or less for all renders. So it's something I really like. So okay, let's go for a small test render on an image, and as you can see here, it already looks nice, but it's somehow milky, the glass, and this is because we didn't set it up in the shader editor with the glass. We set it up in the material directly, and this gives us much more roughness as if we would have put it up in the shader editor. So let's change the roughness and do it again, the render. Okay, here in the shader editor, you see it's quite milky. Go here to the glass BDF, and if you set it here as a node, it will be with 0 roughness. If you do it outside where I did it, it will get 0.5 roughness. So I decrease it to 0.1. Go for the render view. Let's see how it looks. Yep, and this is what we like. So let's render out quickly another picture. I really want to highlight something quickly, and this is, if you look here, you see all these small bubbles in the liquid and the small particles, and you will even see them if you use the denoising option, so which will save you a lot of render time. And the dust is more or less removed, but we don't use dust in the water here, so we can use the denoising option and save really some render time. For the denoising, there's a small plugin from Motion you can download for free, but you can even set it up complete manually. Just go to compositing, take the render layers, and go here, and you have to be sure that denoising data is on, and then just connect noisy image with image, and denoising normal with normal, and denoising albedo with albedo, and then you're already fine. So the first image where we went into detail was without denoising. This here is with denoising, and you see it still looks good, and it's rendered on my machine in 4 minutes. The other one was done in 45 minutes. So it really, you see, it's still looking really nice. So you can, if you don't use dust, really go with the denoising option. No problem at all. So I adjusted the camera angle and now picking in a suitable end frame for my animation. So I know this tutorial was really long, and but I wanted to go into detail, and if it helped only one person out there who was struggling, I am already satisfied. So if you find this helpful, please leave a subscription and a like if you want to. I would really appreciate it. And now let's see the final animation and our final render.